for other large firms or really any other legal firm that's looking at the role of data and how it can impact their organization, you know, what would you say were any challenges that come to mind that you had to overcome to, you know, get over that hump? Obviously, you know, the example you made a real impact with regards to business development and probably the bottom line, and that's going to get a lot of attention. But any challenges, you know, either organizationally or just the fact that it may have been a newer role, and you can confirm that within the firm, that you'd like to speak to?
Yeah, so a couple things come to mind. So when I look at my role, we talked about business development. That's definitely more on the business side of law. But I'm also very in tune to using data and analytics on the operational side or on the practice side of law as well. So how can we use data and analytics to give our attorneys a competitive advantage and ultimately turn that into a competitive advantage for our clients? As far as challenges, specifically in my position in the legal industry, and I don't think they're that different than a lot of other challenges that other chief data officers have, is the data was really siloed. A lot of these systems that were purchased, whether it was the HR system or the CRM system or the accounting system, for legal, we have the docket system, were thought of as independent systems that should never really talk to one another. But once we started developing more and more sophisticated use cases, we saw the need to be able to combine, for example, the accounting data with the HR data, with the docket data, and maybe augment that with third-party data that you might get from a legal provider like a Thomson Reuters or a LexisNexis or a Bloomberg Law. And once we were able to bring all that data together, all these different use cases started to open up, and that gave us that competitive advantage. So we could start to look at what were the tendencies of this specific judge in this jurisdiction, using more advanced techniques like sentiment analysis. So once you could, something like a summary judgment motion, you could look at when a judge did approve that motion, what was the tone of that brief? Is there anything that we could point out that might be an advantage that we could share with our attorneys? What was the tone? What was the nature? What were the cases cited? What seems to resonate with that particular judge? So all those different insights were things that we were able to leverage and give our attorneys that competitive advantage with.
It's really valuable insight. And, you know, there's I've heard two trains of thought, and I'll quote the movie Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. You know, one is all this disparate data, we want to centralize it, right? We want to correlate it and centralize it and determine and go to the business and determine what use cases there could be to take advantage and monetize that data. And then the flip side of that is, you know, let's decide the use cases, pilot them, and then overcome the challenges associated with you know, correlating all the data. Any thoughts on that for some, you know, some leader or again someone else who's looking at building this out?
Yeah, I think it really depends specifically on the use case and the problem that you're trying to solve. The example that we talked about for business development, I didn't have a true ROI projection on that, but I just knew, looking at it, you know, if it was taking 24 hours, if I could do this in 24 seconds and free up 3 people, I mean, that might be enough justification. But then when you started thinking about it as well, is we'll be the first one in line to make that phone call. What value is that? And what if I start to provide more better quality, lack of a better word, leads to our partners and, you know, help them with their own specific revenue goals, and be able to help our clients by being proactive? To me, it was a no-brainer. So in that case, we didn't go through the formalities. It was kind of a skunk's work. I had the backing that I needed to get this off the ground. And then once they saw how quickly and how wonderful we were able to bring that into the operational flow, then we were encouraged to continue to build it out. So I think it really does help by having, again, someone with the broader view of not only the analytics, but the business side, and being able to tie those together to come up with, I think this is a true competitive advantage. And one other point I want to make out is, not a lot of people talk to me. And what I mean by that is there's not like the chairman of the firm or, you know, a C-level executive saying, well, it would be great if we built X, Y, and Z. It's typically the other way, where I'm kind of looking out across the organization, knowing what the state of the art is, knowing where we can push things, and basically coming to them with recommendations saying, I think we can innovate here. This way, you know, and we can talk about that, but due diligence is a great example of how we're using technology to really change that entire process.